Imagine driving down a dark, winding, foggy road at 60 miles per hour in the dead of night. You are exhausted, your windshield wipers are struggling to keep up with the drizzle, and suddenly, a bright, neon purple traffic light looms out of the mist in the distance. Do you slam on the brakes? Do you floor it? Do you prepare to be beamed up by an alien spacecraft? We literally never ask ourselves why every single road, in almost every country on Earth, uses the exact same holy trinity of red, yellow, and green. We just accept it as a universal law of nature. If you look at cyberpunk movies or neon cityscapes, blue and pink look incredibly futuristic and highly visible. So why aren't traffic signals a soothing, electric blue? Or an unmissable, vibrant magenta? You probably assume the answer is purely psychological, something to do with red representing blood and danger, and green representing nature and calm. But the truth is entirely divorced from psychology. The real reason you don't stop at a blue light is actually a terrifying cocktail of a disastrous 19th century train crash, the brutal physics of atmospheric interference, and a bizarre, hardwired glitch inside human eyeballs. To understand why our modern roads don't look like a neon rave, we first have to look at the absolute chaos of the early days of mechanized transportation. Long before the Model T Ford was even a sketch on a drafting board, there were steam trains. And early railroad engineers in the 1830s had a very different, deeply flawed color-coding system. Sure, red meant stop. That association actually dates back centuries to ancient warfare and early maritime navigation. But green did not mean go. For the first few decades of the railway, green meant caution. And the color for go? It was white. Pure, unadulterated, blazing white light from an oil lamp. Take a second to imagine the sheer horror of navigating a massive, uncontrollable steam locomotive through the pitch-black wilderness of the 1800s. Your only way of knowing you aren't about to crash into another train is looking for a white light in the distance. But the 19th century was full of white lights. If a star happened to shine a bit too brightly low on the horizon, train crash. If someone left a lantern hanging on their front porch near the tracks, train crash. But the fatal flaw wasn't just background light, it was the colored lenses themselves. The colored glass on these early railway lamps would routinely crack and shatter under the harsh weather and the extreme heat of the oil flames inside. So, a conductor would be roaring down the tracks, look ahead, and see a bright white light because the red glass stop lens had simply fallen out of the housing. They'd keep their hand on the throttle, assuming they had the right of way, right up until the exact moment they slammed into a stopped train ahead of them. After several catastrophic, high-profile accidents, railway operators realized white was a terrible, deadly idea for go. They needed colors that were unmistakable and unnatural. They shifted green to mean go and brought in yellow for caution, because yellow was distinct enough from both red and green. But why stop there? When cars eventually took over the streets in the 1900s, why didn't city planners just replace the outdated train signals with a vibrant blue or a striking pink? After all, those colors stand out perfectly on a dark night. This is where we run straight into the limitations of the physical universe, and your own deeply flawed anatomy. By the way, speaking of deeply flawed things that need your attention, please subscribe to this almost dead channel for 5 seconds so the algorithm thinks I have value and I can finally afford groceries. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're an absolute legend, thank you. Let's get back to your flawed eyeballs. Light travels in waves, and every single color on the spectrum has a different wavelength. When light passes through the atmosphere, it doesn't travel in a perfect vacuum. It hits moisture, dust, smog, and fog. When light waves hit these microscopic particles, they scatter. This is a phenomenon known in physics as Rayleigh scattering, named after the 19th century British scientist who figured out why the sky is blue. The sky is blue because blue light has a very short, highly energetic wavelength. It crashes into atmospheric particles and bounces everywhere, painting the sky. But that exact same physics makes blue a complete and utter disaster for a traffic light. In rain, snow, or fog, a blue or purple light scatters so violently that it turns into a massive, fuzzy, unrecognizable halo. You wouldn't be able to tell exactly where the light is originating from, which lane it belongs to, or how far away you are from the intersection. But it gets much worse than bad weather. Let's talk about a biological defect called chromatic aberration. Your eye's cornea is essentially a curved, biological lens. Just like a cheap camera lens, it refracts different colors of light at slightly different angles. Because blue and purple have incredibly short wavelengths, your eye actually focuses them slightly in front of your retina, rather than directly on the back wall of your eye where the image is processed. This means if you stare at a bright blue or purple light in the dark, your brain literally struggles to pull its edges into sharp focus. To human eyes, blue light in the darkness is inherently blurry. It causes eye strain and ruins your night vision. Pink, meanwhile, is even more chaotic. Pink, or magenta, isn't even a real wavelength of light. It doesn't exist on the electromagnetic spectrum. It is a biological illusion, an error message your brain generates when your eyes detect red light and blue light at the exact same time. Because it's a composite illusion, a pink traffic light would be incredibly easy to wash out, misinterpret, or completely lose amidst the amber glare of modern street lamps and glowing storefronts. And that is exactly why red, yellow, and green survived the gauntlet of history to rule our roads. Red has the longest wavelength in the visible spectrum. It stubbornly refuses to scatter. It cuts through fog, torrential rain, and blizzards like a laser beam. When you look at a red light, your eye focuses it perfectly on the retina, creating a sharp, unmistakable warning that you can perceive clearly from miles away. Green, on the other hand, sits right smack in the middle of the visible spectrum. Through millions of years of evolution, primarily living in forests and jungles, the human eye has developed to be more sensitive to green than any other color. You can detect a tiny speck of green light easier and faster than anything else in your field of view. Oddly enough, there is one massive, fascinating exception to this global rule. If you drive in Japan, you might notice their go lights look suspiciously, almost illegally blue. This isn't because they defied physics. It's because of a 1,000-year-old linguistic quirk. In ancient Japanese, the word el was used to describe both blue and green as if they were the exact same color. When international street sign laws, specifically the Vienna Convention, mandated that traffic lights must be green, Japanese linguists were in a bind. Their solution was to make their traffic lights the absolute bluest possible shade of green legally allowed by international law, honoring their linguistic history while technically appeasing global regulators. But for the rest of the world, we are locked into the trio of red, yellow, and green forever. Because if we let futuristic aesthetics or interior design choices dictate our global traffic grid, your daily commute wouldn't just be annoying. It would be mathematically, physically, and biologically fatal.